Hello, my name is Brandon Dalessandro. I'll be talking about augmented reality visualization for architecture. I wanted to explore this topic to gain a new tool set that might be helpful for me in my future career. The first of my three case studies was the AR exhibit that was produced by the New Museum. The New Museum of New York City collaborated with Apple to produce a series of AR artworks by varying artists that would be projected throughout the city. This exhibit began in August of 2019 and it was offered free to anyone with an Apple product. There was a wide range of works that was produced, which varied from aliens sitting atop skyscrapers, giant feet sitting in the middle of the street, and hovering words displaying various messages. This exhibit forced locals to re-examine their environment in order to start to rethink about the way that they see their city that they live in. My second case study is the Fee Center Theater of Virtuality. Visitors to the Fee Center are given an augmented reality headset or a virtual reality headset, which they wear to experience a series of installations and exhibits throughout. These installations blend the artist, actors, and sceneries and props on stage with augmented realities to twist the sense of reality that people perceive when they enter the exhibits. My third case study was an experiment entitled Virtual Reality for Artists, which was a social experiment that was produced by Josh Rabb through New York Times, where a series of artists were given AR tools to explore. These artists ranged in skills from an 8th grader to a professional sculptor to a street artist, and each and every one of them managed to produce different, very unique art that is emblematic of their specific styles. The tool that was used was they were given a headset as well as a tilt brush program to use within it. And the work that they produced was very fascinating and wide-ranging in skill. As mentioned at the beginning, I want to explore augmented reality visualization for architecture. Augmented reality has become much more common, especially for the everyday person, for using in games like Pokemon Go, but also in businesses where it's been explored as a beneficial tool. So I began my process by doing a dive into topic research, where we explored the Gardner hype cycle, which most of us did throughout our project process. But what the Gardner life cycle revealed was that even though it's becoming more popular, currently we're in the trough of disillusionment, and it is still, as of 2018 when this chart was pulled, it is still 5 to 10 years away. And that was determined to be because of the difficulty of use of the tools. The tools themselves aren't very intuitive for the average person to use, as well as they might be annoying to use, such as you have to hold up your camera in front of you, which is not a very comfortable position. Additionally, to get around this, the equipment required is prohibitively expensive. A headset that might be better for the situation isn't super cheap, and it's kind of bulky as a tool to have. So I began my research with investigation, such as into the Gardner hype cycle, as described on the previous slide. And what else I discovered was that the first introduction of augmented reality was in 1960, where this headset, as you can see on the right, which was mounted to the ceiling, was used. Currently, new technology for headsets are being developed that can be used to increase efficiency on a task and minimize errors, such as for doctors who can now simulate the process of going through a surgery to better understand what they could expect when going through this, as well as engineers who might be able to go onto a job site and see what should be on site and easily compare what is missing. Then I had to go through the process of selecting a tool. I ended up choosing Unity Reflect. I chose the software because it has a plugin for Revit, which means I would easily be able to port over modeled information from Revit into the visualization software. For the model for this project, I chose to use my studio project. I chose this because it would be beneficial for me to be able to use a model that I'm already developing and explore how this visualization tool would be beneficial throughout a variety of points in the design process. You can see on the left I have two different images. One is a fairly basic massing model that I was developing, and then additionally you can see that there's a curtain walls being applied in the other image. What I found while using this tool was that it was very powerful and useful for developing rapid feedback. The software itself automatically has rendering settings, and so when you import information, it has a good out-of-the-box presentation. Additionally, you can sync your Revit file with your Unity Reflect file, so any updates that you make in your Revit file could be presented automatically in your Unity Reflect file. It also presented the opportunity to scale representation. You can see on the bottom that I was able to, this is obviously a clip from the image that I was able to see, but you can see that there's a 2-scale representation of it with me on the ground floor. And additionally, you can filter out different layers, so I can strip down the model to its basic structure to only see the structural elements or only see the plumbing elements, which also presents different benefits when going through the construction process. What I found in the end is that this was a very fun visualization tool to use, but it still might have been more beneficial to use traditional 2D images. The filtering of materials was very finicky. When I was trying to turn off certain things, some things wouldn't. You can see on the image on the far left, I was trying to create a structural diagram, and so I had only the columns and floors turn on, but you can see the curtain walls are still there, and I couldn't get them to turn off. Additionally, in the software, it seems like that the default rendering settings are the only rendering settings, and I assume that is that way because of just efficiency for the software to run. You can change a couple things, such as you can change the time of day, but if you're trying to make your project match a specific aesthetic, it becomes very difficult to do that. These issues might be specific to the software, but what I found was some issues with the process and the visualization itself were pretty challenging to work with. Presenting a project this way, especially during the design process, exposes all of the things that you haven't resolved yet. People can look around and see where there are errors, and what tends to happen is conversations can focus on those specific things rather than what you need to talk about to move the project forward. Additionally, some of the elements that were presented as challenges from the Gardner hype cycle seemed to ring true. I was holding up my phone for extended time periods and it wasn't comfortable, and the images that were presenting were only so large and hard to see. With these difficulties in mind, I think it still may be beneficial to have traditional 2D renderings and spend the time on those instead, as compared to using Unity Reflect in this case, because they produce the opportunity to have a more directed conversation, as well as avoid some of the other errors that I was talking about, at least throughout the design process. And that's what I found while using this software. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation.